Hey moms, it's Nakimi. Welcome to the channel and space for single moms navigating motherhood. And as always, we do not bash the baby daddies because, well, we are here now. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We discuss all things pertaining to single motherhood, and I am a huge advocate of mental health for single moms. So if you are a mommy looking for a community, please subscribe. Do not forget to hit the like button and leave me a comment at the end of the video. So mommies, I want to piggyback off of the video I made previously. It was a story time. And if you didn't watch the video, just to kind of give a quick debrief, I had a client come in and she's early 30s, single mom of one daughter who's 8 or 9. Her daughter's dad is nowhere in the picture. She's been dating her current boyfriend for about a year, who has a son who I believe was 12. He gets his son every weekend. She expressed that, her boyfriend has shared some things about his son's behavior and she doesn't like the kid. The baby mama's crazy because that's their favorite thing to say. The baby mom has since moved on, married, had more children, and the baby mom's daughter likes to tag along with her boyfriend, so they have a really close relationship. And she was jealous because, of course, she has a daughter and he has not bonded with her child. She's never met the son, but the boyfriend has met her daughter a time or two. And so I said all of that to kind of say or ask, what do you do as, a single mother whose child's father, new significant other, is ignorant? And there's just no other way to explain that or label it. What do you do? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but you do have women that are like that. You have women that want to limit the support that you get, or want to talk about the time that their boyfriend or significant other spends with his kids, but really want him to bond and be there for their children who's not his. And I get it, right? Because if I was in a relationship, me and my child were a package deal, and I could never ever be with a man that wouldn't want to be there and support and love my kid, right? But I'm for sure not going to impede on his time with his kids and what he has to do. And if he doesn't have enough money after supporting his children to help me with mine, then the relationship just wasn't going to be able to work, right? Because I could never be the type of woman that say, you're spending too much time with your kid and come over here with me and mine. Like, that's wild. That's crazy, right? But you have women that are like that. You know what I mean? So what do you do? I'm always going to err you guys on the side of leveling up, but this is where your spiritual hygiene has to be on point. You have to really clean your spirit out so that you can know what to pray and how to pray for that situation, right? And bonding with your kids, I speak about that, really bonding with your kids so that, number one, you can kind of tell by body language if they're being mistreated, for sure. And then I think too, just kind of knowing who your child's father is, what's his character. For me personally, when I was raising my daughter, I knew deep down her dad would never let anyone hurt our kid. I knew that. I knew that that's his only daughter, and she, he said it. She changed him, she changed his ways. You know what I mean? So when my daughter would leave and go with her dad and come back, I never felt the need, or the thought never crossed my mind to ask her about what went on in his household. I just didn't do it. You know what I mean? So that's my story. You know what I mean? But everyone's story is different. So I definitely think, knowing your child's father is going to be very crucial, having that relationship with him to where you can openly express concerns. But first and foremost, making sure that your feelings are not deeply rooted in trauma, right? Get into therapy. Yeah, just making sure that you're not still wounded and you're acting off of emotions versus logical thinking. Because sometimes kids can feel mistreated because they had to go to bed at a certain hour, where your house they can do what they want to do, or vice versa, right? So we want to make sure that this is legit, evil stepmama behavior, right? For sure. And I'm going to tell you this too. Like, you'll see where, the baby daddies are just bum baby daddies, deadbeats. You know what I mean? Or they're doing the bare minimum. Maybe they're not really keeping a job, so the financial support fluctuates, or whatever the case may be. You guys break up and they jump straight into a relationship with a woman with kids, right? And now they're like, they have wannabe stepfather of the year. Oftentimes, because I've seen this a time or two, oftentimes those relationships have a lot of friction. Yep, they sure do. And I believe it's because deep down that man knows that he's not taking care of his children. Yep. And then that woman, she typically does not give him full autonomy over parenting her children, because she can't trust him, because she knows he's not taking care of his kids. She knows that. So there's deep-rooted resentment on his behalf, and then there's a deep-rooted fear, insecurity, and embarrassment on her half. You know what I mean? Because they know. Now, I will say this too. A lot of the significant others will get a lot of heat because their man is not taking care of his biological children. Now, ideally, you would hope that when people enter into relationships, they're pushing each other to be not only the best partners, but the best parents, right? But that doesn't always happen. But I believe that the onus lies on the dad, right? Because the responsibility of taking care of the children that were created lies on the ones that created them. Yeah. And so me personally, I could never, ever date a man that's not taking care of his children, for the simple fact, to me, if you're not loyal to your seed, if you're not taking care of your children, what am I in for? You know what I mean? What am I in for? Really? No, truly. And to be honest with you, if he's a deadbeat to his own kids, she's not getting the best of him. Her kids are not getting the best of him. Think about it. A man that is a good father, right, loves his children, irregardless of the relationship, how it played out with the mother of his kids. He loves his babies. He's going to still protect them. He's going to still pour into them, right? He's going to still be intentional about being a father to them, right? So that's the type of man that can come into another woman's world and help her, water her seeds, if he knows how to water his own. You know what I mean? And oftentimes those guys that do that, it's sometimes because they needed a place to stay, or they're trying to make the baby mama jealous. That's how the triangulation comes into play, right? So what do? You hold your head down and you keep doing what you're supposed to do with taking care of your babies. And people talk about boundaries with the baby mom, not overstepping into the new relationship, or, she just wants her baby daddy back. And sometimes it is the baby daddy that is bitter and still loves the baby mama, right? So boundaries have to be established all around, right? Because women like the one in the story time that are jealous, or they're already forming some opinion, or they're already ready to ride for a man that they barely even know, because you've only been dating him for a year and you only get 2 days out of the week, set days at that, right? You haven't even met his family or his child, but you're already ready to take this man's side on everything, and you have no discernment, you have no clue, and you cannot buy a vowel, right? Women like that, you've got to kind of deal with at a distance, right? And those type of women can't see that the man is sometimes the issue, that there's things that he needs to work on before she even enters into a relationship with him. Because oftentimes what ends up happening is that the newcomer ends up as baby mama number 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, right? Yep. So if you are a single mom right now and you know that you have no intentions, have never tried to get back with your child's father, you're strictly about co-parenting, you're all about it, you keep doing what you're doing. You keep co-parenting with your child's dad. You keep him involved. Hey, Jadarius, teacher called. You may want to talk to him about this when you see him. Keep it respectful and keep it moving. But I'm telling you, and I've seen this a time or two, when the girlfriend is jealous of the baby mama, there's nothing you can do that's going to make her like you. She's always going to be insecure about you. And sometimes you'll see this when the baby mama has her ish together. Yep. And the baby mama is the one that got away. Yep. So if that's you and you're dealing with a newcomer that's ignorant, you leave that to her, honey. Yep. And you just keep pushing forward. And you keep your child's, father involved. You still got a co-parent. Yep. And sometimes, you know what? I don't even think a lot of when people come into a situation and they start dating a person with kids, I don't really think that they sit down and really think about and have a sensitivity to a child whose home is broken, right? No fault of theirs, but whose home is broken. That child is never going to be able to see their mother and father together. Now that child has to not only, see a mom with a boyfriend and maybe they have kids, but now having to share dad with new girlfriend and her kids, that can be a lot on that kid. Have you really just thought about it? Like, all the kids that they are around have their mother and father there, right? Especially if, you had kids, your baby daddy has kids and then she has kids and then together they make a kid. There's still some type of family dynamic there that your child doesn't get, right? But you got to be careful, man. You really do, because another thing with bitter, ignorant girlfriends like that are already don't like the kid or already ready to take sides or jealous, those would be the type not only to throw rocks and hide their hands, but they will manipulate situations, right? Like they're the type that will plan family vacations and leave your kids out. So then when the kids go over there, all of the other kids are talking about, oh, we took a trip to Disneyland, or oh, we went here, we went there, And some people will argue, I'm going to say this, especially if like the father is maybe not able to afford to, bring his kids along. So she'll pay for everything with just her kids, right? And people will be like, well, she's not obligated to pay for his kids. No, she's not. But then my thing is keep that energy across the board, because when you're telling kids that you love them, right, here's that manipulation coming into play. When you're telling these kids, now these are children, when you're telling children, I love you, and, like you're my own, and the kids are calling, her kids, their brothers and sisters, they form this bond. But then when it comes to family things, they're left out sometimes, right? You can't say that you love them, because where is the unity? Where is this, I love these kids like they're mine? Well, if you love them like they're yours, everybody's going to make financial arrangements to include the kids, even if it's asking the mothers, hey, we like to take a trip to Disney World. Do you think that you can front half for Jadarius, right? I don't know. Now, and I'm not talking about situations where, you've got your kid plan this vacation and then they're going to go on their vacation. That's different. I'm specifically talking about purposely leaving kids out of the picture because because that new girlfriend doesn't want that dad around his kids. Or there's situations where, she's so insecure. Again, it's nothing that you've done to make her feel like you want her man back, but she always has to just be there. Like you guys could never be in a situation where you're alone. That's wild. And I would think, this is just me, and I'm always going to be talking from a perspective of a healed woman. I personally don't want to be in a relationship where I have to constantly follow my man everywhere he goes when he goes with this baby's mom. I would like to think that if my man says, hey, Nikimi, I've got to go over here and, Renisha called me and Jadarius was acting up in school, I'm going to go have a talk with him. Yeah, go handle your business. You know what I'm saying? I would like to be able to have that type of trust. You know what I mean? So I don't know, Yep. You gotta level up, and you've gotta really start bonding with your kids, man, knowing your kids and working on that relationship with the father of your children, because the plain fact of the matter is we can't tell them who and who not to date, right? We just can't. We gotta pray and hope for the best, right? And the truth of the matter is what goes on in their relationship, which is why I never understood people trying to go through children to get information, manipulating the kids. You know what I mean? That's crazy to me. Always has been and always will be. But that's neither here nor there, right? What goes on in that man's household, his finances and things like that, as long as he's doing what he's supposed to do and showing up and being intentional for you all's kids, that's all you can really ask. You know what I mean? That's just in my opinion. I don't know. You guys let me know. Have you dealt with that? Are you dealing with that now? How did you navigate it? What are you doing, now to do that? I'm going to always say teach your kids to be respectful. Keep the conversation short to a minimum. You know what I mean? But still co-parent with your child's dad, because in the end, you guys are the ones responsible for raising that child or those children. You know what I mean? And then there are a lot of step parents or bonus parents that are coming out saying that they felt like they did too much and in the end, they didn't get the respect that they felt that they deserved or the acknowledgement. So for me, if I'm going to be into a relationship with a man with kids and, I don't want to be responsible for a lot of your kid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to discipline your kid. I would like for your kid to be respectful, to do what they're supposed to do, and keep it pushing. You've got to have a great relationship, with the mom. Like, I don't want to be the one that have to insert my authority or flex my authority as the wife, or whatever. I just don't want to go through that. That's just me, as a woman, because I feel like boundaries must be set on all ends. So if there's a situation where, you're dealing with, maybe the baby mom doesn't want, the daughter to get acrylic nails, bitter, insecure girlfriends, they'll do it just to spite the mother, always creating that friction. You know what I mean? That's where your level of discernment's got to come into play and make sure that you're responding logically and you know how to kind of pivot when you need to, for sure. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to keep your children away just because, daddy's girlfriend is not up to par, Now, unless she starts hurting your babies or it's weighing in on your baby's mental health, then you already know what to do as a mom. You know what I mean? That's a conversation for you and the dad. But, for sure, just know that God is going to always cover your kids, even out of your sight, praying over your babies, for sure. But that was all I wanted to talk about. You guys drop me a comment and let me know, Have you gone through this? Are you going through this? Share some advice in the comment section. To my single mommies, you got this, mamas. I love you guys. Till next time. Bye.